So Andrew is going to give us some announcements and updates on MAACE. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. I know it's the end of the day, and it's never fun to go at the end of the day. I presented at COA at the end of the day, and the 4 people that came, it was wonderful. But no, it wasn't quite that bad, but close. With MAACE, I know a lot of people, and in the different programs around the state, we still have 2 programs that haven't elected a board member, and I'm going to reach out to them and talk to them. And then there's 2 programs that don't have any MAACE members. We would love to have you in there, and in the future, we think that's going to go away and it won't be a problem, which you'll hear about kind of coming down the line with the summer conference and things in person, with the way things have to work. So there'll be some information about that in the future. But if you're not sure about your membership, come talk to me or send me an email or something. I'll be glad to talk to you about it, because a lot of, as you all know, just looking around the room, it's a lot of new faces in here for one, and in your programs it's a lot of new faces. MAACE of yesteryear, most, not all, but most of the people have retired or they're no longer in adult ed, so a lot of MAACE membership that always did it, always contributed, always was a part of everything is gone. And a lot of the new people coming in are like, what am I getting for my money? No thanks. And they don't really think about it that way as it's an investment for them. With COABE and all the stuff that COABE does, if you think of MAACE, we're like the minor leagues of COABE. So what everything that MAACE does on the national level is what we are trying to do with MAACE on the state level. And what we're doing now, even to go a step further, what you do in your programs already is kind of like the minor leagues, like a AA, AAA, and all that kind of stuff. We're the local program, your membership of your MAACE members, that's your local level, then it goes to the board at the state level, and then COABE's the national level. So we're trying to make sure that we get that information disseminated out to everybody easily. And what works is if I go to the board meeting and I can talk about all the stuff we talk about across the state in MAACE, then I can go back and tell my people that are right there. So the information gets shared quickly. Some programs it's easy to share because the one MAACE member is the board member. And so we know that membership is just lacking. So if you could think about it, consider it. One, just do simple math. To be in COABE, it's $45. To be in MAACE, it's $25, and you're a member of COABE. So that itself, like, if you're not sure, that's the difference of $20, okay? So that's something that should, right there, be something that you're interested in. If you are interested in getting your whole program in MAACE, several programs in the state did that. They just, everybody in their organization, they joined MAACE. Talk to me and I can help you out about some of those things as well. What does MAACE give you? Again, COABE is one of the big parts about it, but also we do our awards. We're finally getting to have a conference of some sort this year, even though it's virtual, but we will be giving an award for both in the north half and the south half of the state for Teacher of the Year, Administrator of the Year, Support Staff of the Year, and Student of the Year. And to be eligible for that, except for the students, you have to be a MAACE member. So that's one of the easy things that you can kind of think that's a good reward for your folks to get recognition, and they get a cash reward for winning that. So that's a good thing there. There's also the different things that we do on the training and advocacy. What has MAACE done in the past? If you go, well, you know, MAACE in the past, throw that out. It doesn't matter what we've done in the past because we're looking ahead moving forward. Just as adult ed has changed dramatically in the past, I mean, you could go 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, I mean, it's changed so drastically over the past few years. We're adapting and changing MAACE to be representative of that. And a lot of the advocacy stuff that I know Bronwyn's going to talk about with some of the stuff with COABE and just the ambassador program that COABE has and some of that, we're trying to get that helped to be pushed out at the state level. And to do things, not reinventing what we already do, it's really just kind of rebranding and helping network for programs that might be smaller or might not have as much success in a certain area and another program does. we can get that kind of networking like we've done today and talking about some of those different things there. And then there's more to come in MAACE. One of the things I kind of put this, I say it at church whenever we're having like a work day or something. I always say, if you see something that you've wondered about, why hadn't anybody fixed that, or why hadn't somebody changed that, or I really wish somebody would do that with MAACE. If you don't like what we're doing, be a part of it. Help us. We don't know what we're not doing well sometimes. So please let us know. Tell your local board member, or if you don't have members, become a member, and then you can be the board member. And what we do is we vote on it in your local program. So in our program, all the people that joined, I sent them all the members and said, elect a board member. They elected me the board member, so I became the board member for our organization. If I leave, the MAACE members that are there, they will select my replacement. So that way we're not having to put it out. Kind of ended up being a popularity contest. Big programs or people that knew is how they elected people. Now it's going to be specific to the program. So we're able to share that information. One of the things that we're going to be doing for MAACE members coming up just next week on Wednesday, we're doing some virtual Hangouts. Just today, in between some of the sessions and things we've had, I turned around and talked to the table behind me. We've been talking all day up here, and we'll share ideas about stuff like, well, how are you doing this? Or how did this happen? We're missing that terribly right now because we're not having conferences and times for us to meet face to face. Y'all all know on a Zoom what happens. As soon as they say it's over, click, I'm out of here, if you haven't done that already with your cameras off and stuff like that. So we know that that's missing. So what we're doing is having 3 different times, and there'll be emails sent out to all the MAACE members, and I'll send it out to the directors as well so you can make sure that information gets out. But on Wednesday, April 28th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to have just a time. It's not completely unscripted. We're going to have some talking points to kind of encourage some discussion, but it's going to be a place where staff from all over the state can come together and say, okay, here's our problem. What are y'all doing for this? And, here's something we have a lot of success with right now. Let me share it with you, and this might be something you can do, because I've learned almost as much in those conversations as I have sitting through sessions at different conferences. And it's not going to be, and the reason we're kind of moderating it, we don't want it to just turn into a gripe session or just somebody complaining about stuff. Because, we know we can complain about things, but really focusing and looking at the positives and what are some things that are working well there. So Wednesday, April 28th, then we're doing one on Monday, May 3rd, and on Tuesday, May 4th, both at 5:30 in the afternoon. Because we know a lot of staff who are overlooked are the night teachers or teachers that work full-time with something else, and they don't work during the time of day to be able to go to some of those webinars and stuff. And the state office has been great about putting it on Canvas. Well, we want to make sure we're reaching out to those people too. So that's why we're doing it over 2 different days. Hopefully staff that work those days will be able to attend one of those at some point. And if there's any other questions or anything, please email me or Kim Smith. She's the outgoing secretary. We do have a new secretary in Chris Mall from Pearl River. I'm the newly elected president, but I've kind of been the president since we've last met, so it's kind of this long term of kind of the dark winter that we just came through. But we're changing up again how we do a lot of that stuff and just revamping it entirely. And Joanne Tisdale with Mississippi Delta, she's the secretary. Or no, she's the treasurer right now. So Kim has done a lot of that for years, and she's starting to get ready to step out, so we're sharing and passing along some of that information as we go. But if there's any questions, again, email me. You can still email her because she has a lot of that knowledge. If you're not sure about your membership, come talk to me, and I'll be glad to help you out on any of that. Any questions or anything I might can answer? All right.
Thank you, Andrew.
No problem.
So I'm helping serve with MAACE, and so my role with MAACE is pretty much my role right now with adult ed, and that's just promoting what we do in adult ed. I was chosen, as well as Shannon Cole from Northeast, to serve as state advocates for adult ed by COAID. And we are in right now a fellowship where we are learning the different techniques, maybe the way to speak to our politicians and our leaders on what adult ed, is about. So we got thrown right into Capitol Hill Day last week. I will say I only had one representative to respond back to us, and that was Representative Kelly's office, and that would be the Northeast area. Very, very cordial. I will tell you that not very familiar with WIA, Title II, our role. And we were also able to talk with him about the opioid crisis in our state that covers the Northeast area of our state, which they were not familiar with. So just educating our leaders for when they see Title II or WIA come across their desk or their staffers' desk pretty much, because the staffers are the ones that are letting them know what we do. Just talking to them about what we do, the services that we offer. And many of you fall into Representative Kelly's district, Holmes. You have one county in this district, East Menace, Itawamba, Northeast, Northwest. And so we were able to show them all of your programs and that we're all consistently doing the same thing across the state and how we're trying to serve all of our participants. So that's what we're working on right now. We're still reaching out, trying to schedule those appointments in the other areas, but we just have not had a very good response from the others right now. So we're hoping that will pick up. State legislators, we're not reaching out to them right now. That we're probably going to wait on that a little bit. That will be from the direction of the Community College Board. We don't ever want to step outside the scope of what we're supposed to be doing. But really remember this, advocating, we're not supposed to be lobbying, okay? But advocating for what you do is not the same thing. And advocating is just talking about what we do to anybody that pretty much listens. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I have been scheduling meetings, like I've told y'all before, with Department of Human Services, with your WIN job centers, as well as Department of Rehab. And I've asked the centers that have responded, I've reached out. I know to share we did, about Tibahaw County with the WIN job centers 2 months ago. We've done, I think, Southwest. We did Brookhaven and Macomb WIN job centers. Department of Human Services, I know I've got Itawamba, Northeast, Northwest this Thursday, and then I've got Holmes and East Menace that morning. And so I'm reaching out to the programs, asking you to join me in these calls for them to be able to see what you do individually, what you have to offer at your programs. I will tell you, when they hear what we have to offer, they're actually amazed. And we have to provide this training to them, guys, because the turnover in those agencies are they're higher than what we have possibly in adult ed when it comes to the directors and like lead teachers or something of that nature, our college and career navigators. So we're trying just to put the word out. That's what I've been trying to do. Just trying to keep abreast to the funding and things that are allocated to us and where that's going. I do know that in the last stimulus bill, adult ed was not, we were not earmarked in that to some degree, but we are in the infrastructure. So if you follow the infrastructure bill that's coming along right now, if you'll follow that a little bit, adult ed is mentioned in that. So just try to pay attention to that if you want to. But that's the kind of things that I'm trying to stay on top of, as well as ways for you to be able to get students into your program, not just advocating, but talking about what you do. So I'd like for you all to make sure that y'all visit Move Ahead with Adult Ed through COAID. That is where someone can put in the zip code and they can look with Move Ahead with Adult Ed is where your programs are located. And it gives a list of all of your programs. And I think, Arlene, if I'm not mistaken, you registered your programs, didn't you? And it was easy it was easy breezy. Do you have to do every site though, Arlene, or is it just? Yeah. You have to do every one of your sites. So when they put the zip code in, it goes to them. Okay, I mean it goes directly to that site. So I want you all to check that. We have some programs that are not on there. I'm not so familiar with all of your sites for me to be able to go in there and say, hey, we need to update this, we need to update that. You may have closed the site last year and it's not available anymore, we need to get that off of there. So y'all will just visit that website, make sure that your contact information is correct. We've updated the Skill Up Mississippi website, that underneath, when someone goes to the Skill Up site and clicks on Find a Program, they click on their county, it's going to bring up your name as the director, address, phone number, your email, but we have added the URL, the website to the Adult Ed site, to your site, okay? The one thing that you might want to consider is what your Adult Ed site looks like. For instance, Gulf Coast has an information sheet on their website. When somebody visits that website, it goes to their Adult Ed site, gives them the information, and then they get to fill in some information about themselves, and if I'm not mistaken, it goes directly to the site they're interested in, to that teacher. So it may not go to Kelly, it's going to go to that teacher, that class, for that teacher to reach out to that individual. So that might be something that you want to talk to Kelly about putting that on your website to where it can go to your teacher to get that notification. Another thing that I have learned, if y'all are not attending the Region 4 COAID talks, I will tell you they're very valuable. Who was on the last call? I thought I saw, yeah, Freddie on that last call. Just the information they provided that I was not familiar with, and I reached out again. I reached out to Carla, so I think Gulf Coast uses it, so I reached out to Kelly, and it is through that Connect, Student Connect, what is it? Prep to Connect, or Student Prep Connect, okay? So there is a way for you to go on there, and I've reached out to the lady that talked about it to get more information. She has sent me an email, and we're supposed to talk this week, that you can go on there and put in make sure that your information's in there, your site's in there, and you can turn on notifications. This year, they have reported over 20,000 people have visited the GED website looking for an Adult Ed program for a service. Is that not phenomenal? Over 20,000 people. So that works the same way as Move Ahead with Adult Ed, and that is they can put their zip code in, and it's going to bring up the nearest program to them, whether they're looking for, the testing part, or they're looking just to attend an Adult Ed program. And the way that this program has it set up is it sends that director a notification. Hey, someone put their zip code in on GED's website looking for an Adult Ed program. It sends you a notification, and then you can filter that out of your program to whoever you want to call that student. So that is something that you may want to look into, and we'll have further information about that this week. But just looking for ways to connect students to you, those are two ways right there that, that y'all could easily implement, with these. And I think you said y'all tried it. Have y'all tried it, Kelly?
Yes, we've worked in it a little bit. We're not masters of it yet. But in that GED Prep Connect, though, there are some places where you can do candidate drill downs, and you can pull anybody in a certain zip code that hasn't passed their math. They passed other parts, but they haven't passed their math. So we are going to try to do some focused, targeted audiences with that information.
And that's one thing that we talked about too back in the fall, is being strategic about your recruiting measures, and where you're exhausting your efforts and maybe not seeing any fruit from that, and then where to evaluate your efforts. I mean, if you're over here and you're not getting a whole lot of students over here, but you're pulling from this population, do you need to put more effort over here? Does that make sense? If you're putting a lot of effort over here and not getting anybody, that makes sense. So y'all think about your recruiting measures as well as you go into this next year. These are two great tools. I'm excited to be helping out with MAACE and just talking about Adult Ed. If I can help you in your area speak to a group of individuals, I'll be glad to. I'm sure I'll be reaching out to many of you over the next month. Department of Rehab has scheduled pretty much, they want to schedule presentations about 2 times a week. And for some of you, that may be 2 presentations a week because your community college falls in several counties within their districts. So I'm going to get those scheduled and get those out to y'all. So I think that's it.
Good job. Lots going on.
You can clap, Tamara, it's okay.
Yeah.
I will take
As y'all can see, there's a lot going on all the time. A lot of things behind the scenes that happen in our offices.
I do want to mention, y'all, Mark is the one that does all of our filming and our podcast, and I will tell you that, I just want to say thank you, Mark, because I'm not a podcast person, I'm not an interviewer by any means whatsoever, but it's been fun to do, even though I was kind of pushed into it, but it was fun. I brought an idea, and the idea went to fruition in 7 days, and so, but I will tell y'all, he's wonderful. We're going to have a room, just based off the podcast that we have done so far, and the efforts that we're putting into what we're trying to do. He's been allowed to get a room at the community college board just for videos and interviewing and things of that nature. And so when that room gets ready, right, Mark? Soon, we're going to start having people in. So it's going to be happening more than just once a month or once every 3 weeks. Something we're going to be able to start doing just kind of on spot. So I'm excited to be able to interview y'all about your programs and with some student stories from Ruby's program. I'm excited to start doing those. So we are going to start interviewing students as well, just to try to get the word out there. So if y'all have any ideas, anything y'all want us to film, y'all just let us know, okay?
Good, thank you. Yes. Mark is like, I don't know, he's like the Wizard of Oz. I mean, literally, he's sitting over there behind all this stuff, but he makes our dreams come true. So he is excellent to work with, and I tell you, Dr. Mayfield and Dr. Devon, Sandy were so impressed with the podcast and what we were doing. Mark went to him, talked to him, and now he has a budget and literally his own room to do this in. So we're so excited about that and the growth of it. So don't wait. Don't sit around and wait on Bronwyn. She's pretty persistent. You're not going to wait long. But be proactive. If you're like, hey, I've got a student that I know would be fantastic, send that to her and let's get you on the list, because I can tell you her list is starting to fill up, which is a good problem to have. I know initially when we talked about this, we talked about doing it how often?
Once every 2 weeks.
Once every 2 weeks. Then we went to a month. I don't know, we've gone back and forth. But Bronwyn, in case you don't know, loves it. She has a knack for interviewing people. She does a great job in pulling the information out and making you feel relaxed and at ease. I've never seen Cindy Heimbach so nervous in my life. I didn't think it was in her to be nervous. I mean, she talks in front of us all the time. But when it was something about when you sit down in front of that camera, it's actually like 3 or 4 cameras. It is a little nerve-wracking, but Mark does a great job of putting us at ease, and Bronwyn does too. So, thank you, Mark. What's Cindy? You're done. Check that off your list. All right, let's see. We only have about 15 minutes left, but to kind of guide our talk for tomorrow, our discussions for tomorrow, I do want to. We off and on today talked a little bit about best practices, but I want us to continue that tomorrow. So I want to take this approach over the next few minutes, let's say 10 minutes. I really think it's worth it. I've heard lots of discussions going around the room today. I want to know what you're struggling with. Talk among your table. If you want to pair up with the table, that's fine. But really think about what you can take back tomorrow when you leave. One question I heard earlier, I hope that y'all will share at your table. If not, I'm going to share it for you. CCNs. The question came up, how do you do your CCNs? Do they actually travel across your district? How do they work with all of your students, especially if you have a large area? So how do you do that? That's one of the things I want you to share tomorrow. So take a few minutes. I'm not going to give you long because I'm trying to get you out of here on time. Talk amongst yourselves, and let's hear one thing from each table that you really would like to know. What are best practices with other programs, and how can we improve? Okay, so I'd like for you to all report each table, and it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2. Bronwyn, are you going to come up and help me chart this? Share what some of your concerns are, and so we can discuss these tomorrow.
Okay.
All right? Okay, I'm going to start right here with you guys. Okay. You want me to come back? I need to come back. Okay.
Okay. We're having an influx of students that are not ESL students, but they are not true adult ed because their English skill is kind of in that intermediate, even to the point where they can take the test in Spanish and they miss it by about as much as they do in English. So they don't know enough English, but they don't know enough Spanish, especially the, like as we used to call it on the GED test, edited American English, like the academic reading in Spanish is totally different than the dialectical Spanish that they might know part of. And that's something that I was talking just this week. I wish there was a co-ed session on something like that I could have gone to recently, because it has been just a ton. And I don't know if it's with the DACA laws that are kind of coming back, that there's an influx of having to get documentation and come to class, because they're very willing to come to class, but it's just hard to serve them because they don't need pure reading instruction because they can read. It's the processing and some of the language, which the STAR program helps with that because you learn vocabulary and help, but it's just on such a grand scale with all that. And I was just wondering if that was something other people are seeing.
They actually, you're exactly right. With the DACA, they have to get 40 hours of participation in a high school equivalency or GED program. So sometimes they'll come to you and maybe they need the ESL because maybe that's what you see that they need, but they actually are going to need to be in a high school equivalency GED seeking. And then like I do a lot of those immigration and DACA letters sometimes, and we have to make sure that they've gotten those documented hours, instructional hours, classroom seat hours, and maybe they can take the GED or the HiSET, well, especially the GED in Spanish, but they don't want to. They want to do it in English, and so we are seeing that blurring of the lines between where we really wish they would get some more English instruction from an English ESL class, but they want to be blended in with that other, and that's okay. It's just adult ed is evolving, and that population is evolving with opportunities with immigration and stuff. So,
In Mississippi, you can take the test in multi-language, correct? Okay, I'm just making sure.
GED is available in French.
I don't know what that is.
Well, and I had to call them this week because it used to be if you took it in Spanish, you had to take the entire test in Spanish.
Yes, you still do.
Well, I called them and they said that it was up to the state, so.
Unless it's changed.
Okay, because a lot of them math, they can easily do, but it's just all the reading.
We had a lady that she took everything in English except for the writing. She took it in Spanish.
I did not know.
But what we see is we have Arabic speaking, and so it's not offered in Arabic. And I'm saying, you know this information when we talk about it, but it's not fair that it's not offered in your native language.
That's
But it is for Spanish.
so they can be part of it in Spanish and part of it in English.
So, let me make sure I understand how to put this into simple words. You have some students that are coming in and they're really needing an AV or ASE level work, but also ESL.
Yes, but what we end up doing if they take lower, a lot of times it's not knowledge or content, it's purely just when they read it in English, then they think of it in Spanish, have to try to translate the answers into Spanish, then translate back to English, and then choose the answer. That's where the problem comes.
Right.
They have knowledge, but it's truly the processing. And we bought some Spanish texts that are similar to our English text, so we can kind of help, but instructing them in Spanish is difficult for our non-Spanish instructors, but
You are at the point now, Andrew, where you really need to hire a bilingual instructor.
we have one, so that helps with that.
And they need to not just be in your ESL, but they need to be in your
The adult ed.
Yeah, in your adult ed program. And then we also have one instructor who she works with hearing impaired and deaf students, and she translates. You're at a point now where you need also a special education trained instructor in your program, because that's who's going to help you navigate those special accommodations paperwork that you need for, like Sandy was talking about, students that have those special needs. Not that they when you walk in, you don't even notice that they may need that, but after working with them, you realize, hey, they might benefit from some
Yeah,
extra
and
time.
that is
And maybe
something we're
their
definitely
paperwork's
gonna
too
talk about.
old. Or maybe it's an adult who never was in any particular special classes in school, but a special ed instructor who's got that background, they may pick up that, hey, in math, they might benefit from this. So we're at a point now, if we're really gonna excel with adult ed and helping those learners make that extra mile, we really do need a multilingual instructor somewhere in your program. You're gonna need a special education background instructor who can work with regular ed and special ed people and help you navigate those special accommodations requests for GED, Pearson VUE, and HISET. You're gonna
That's a
need
good
those people in your program somewhere. And the hearing impaired, people who can sign, that's what we need in our program.
Definitely, I totally agree. All right, so struggles, y'all's table.
What's your struggle? Back to what he was saying too, and I know that I've talked to Cindy, those students like Andrew's talking about, sometimes they will enter in through your regular adult ed and take a tape, and then they, you realize that they might benefit better from the ESL, but you've got a regular tape on them, and then you back them up to take the tape class E, and like Andrew said, they don't really fit either place, and sometimes we struggle with, because DRC, those scores get dumped, automatically. And sometimes, Andrew, we struggle with, did they need a regular tape or a tape class E? And then which post-test? Sometimes we have students who come through the tape, the ESL class, and they test out on the tape class E and test out of ESL, but they cannot float in your adult ed class. And that we really struggle with. So that is a real issue when I don't know how they test out.
I'm glad to hear this. It's the first time I've honestly
No,
heard this
we
concern.
really have.
So, and I see Sandy back here making lots of notes, so that's definitely something that we will address.
We try to be honest and right and do things right, but sometimes those learners test out of the tape class
Right.
and they're not ready for adult ed. So
Everybody
they
take my
straddle
hand.
those lines between adult ed and ESL and so.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna have to make sure that some of our ESL teachers learn how to actually have an AP class.
Right.
Building language skills with them.
Right.
All right,
And
I'm gonna cut you off.
We have.
We will pick up more.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so ladies, y'all say any struggles?
Well, I actually went into the share with me some pointers on how to connect our work at Bronwyn with CTE.
I like it.
And I know Sandy is planning, I don't think we're doing it this year, but next year, there will be some times when we'll all be together, adult ed,
Absolutely.
workforce, all at the same table. So
If COVID hadn't happened, we would have already done that. We would have already done that, for sure.
All right, Ruby?
We can discuss retention.
Retention.
We're in a pandemic. And then we can talk about IEP.
You just got trained on that. You should know that.
Well, the retention.
The Christie.
You already have retention, which is mostly what we talked about, and enrollment, how to increase enrollment. But I had a question that she doesn't have the same issue, but I still want to go on the board for tomorrow. My issue is how people are resolving the issue of like PDI for part-time staff, especially like night instructors that have full-time jobs. I'm struggling with how to get the things I need from that staff in such a limited amount of time, and especially if they're on basic skills and they're out of classroom time.
Okay.
Say PDI.
Put PDI,
For part-time, especially nights.
parentheses, basic skills. Okay. Kathleen, Priscilla.
Well, you know my struggle. I think that's what we discussed, so just getting the career pathways, keep in order. But let me tell you, I had seen a presentation that Bronwyn gave, same graphics, And you did a great job then, but it wasn't until today that I heard the questions and the feedback from Mississippi AE staff that it made a difference.
Good.
And I'm starting to put the picture together, and it all goes back to relationships.
It does.
And whether it's relationship with all of you guys, or especially with Homes, with Earlene, and then the, I guess the interim CTE director who's coming into the program, and with workforce.
Yes.
And just kind of reaching out, and then going back to some of those connections with the instructors from MAACE.
Right.
And being able to connect.
It takes a while to put together. IET is a complex concept to me, and it doesn't have to be, but it is. And I'm sure you learned from Pascagoula, Kathleen, that the training doesn't have to be with the community college. It could be with a business partner in your area, so that's good. I'm glad. Thank you for that. All right. Ladies up front.
We talked about the IET in the prison, as far as in my program and pre-release, how I can incorporate that into pre-release. We discussed the duties of the navigator and Smart Start.
And have Smart Start be, it's not mandatory on all levels like workforce and other entities.
How adult eds carry the load, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
And I didn't mention this today, but just so you all know, with corrections, with Shanice, Lachetta's blessing and partnership, we have applied for IET in corrections pilot recently. So I'm hoping that's something in conjunction with the IET design camp that Nikita and Bronwyn are currently doing. If we're selected for that, we can help build the IETs in corrections. So I'm really excited about that. More information is coming, so that's good. I'm glad you said that. All right, Kelly, Karen, Earlene.
Well, we basically talked about the role of
CCN, the role of CCN.
I'm gonna have a problem with class size.
Class size.
Yeah, because y'all are gonna want to increase enrollment, which is great, but if nobody wants to be jam-packed in classrooms anymore, and the attrition rate is such that, when you start a class, you lose half of them. So unless you're dumping them all in constantly, which we try not to do. We try to roll them in sessions, like with managed enrollment. But I'm gonna have trouble, my classrooms are small.
They are. Okay.
I don't know how to move forward how to fix that.
Anything else? Okay. All right, Jennifer Weedy.
We talked about resolution 2. We just need students.
So retention and recruiting. All right, retention and recruiting. Okay. So that gives us a lot to talk about tomorrow. I can't promise you we're going to have all of that ironed out, but we're going to do our best anyway, and that gives us a starting point. So just to recap today, Tiara and Cindy, thank you, and Courtney, thank you so much for the PD updates, everything you're doing with that, Courtney. I was blown away by what you presented. I think all the programs we're so excited about it. I just see endless possibilities for our students. So I'm excited to see what this time next year is going to look like. We talked about IET, Smart Start Workforce, Employer Engagement, and then MAACE. We learned about what's going on with MAACE. I'm so excited to see the growth in MAACE this year.
And on the 25th of March, you should have gotten emails, any MAACE member, their COAVE number. Because usually when you try to access some of the stuff Bronwyn talked about on the website, some of the stuff's on the free side, some of it's on the pay side. So if you didn't get that email, let me or Kim Smith know, because she sent it out May 25th. And it's the new updated COAVE number. So.
Thank you. Okay, so looking forward to tomorrow. Believe it or not, first thing in the morning, we're going to have an activity on IET. So Nikita and Sandy will be doing that activity tomorrow morning. Hopefully this will become a little more clearer and clearer as we go along. We've written down a lot of questions and concerns that y'all have had today, just to take back to our federal contact and say, hey, you told us this, what if we do this? Is this still going to be okay? Because it's still fuzzy. I mean, it's still fuzzy to us. Sometimes we have to do a reality check with each other. Okay, this is what they said. How does that really, literally, what does that mean? So lots of discussions in the morning about that. I know it's going to be a fun activity, isn't it, Sandy?
Yeah.
And And then Carla Causey. Carla Causey is going to
Very fresh.
follow up with program accountability and assessment policy changes. Yes, there have been changes to the assessment policy. We will have changes to our NRS tables starting next year, Table 4. So I'm sure she's going to touch on that, what to be looking for. And then we're going to have some best practices discussion. We want you to take a lot away from this meeting and be able to take it back and not just put it on the shelf or hit that end button on Zoom, and really put things into practice. So, does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. Well, enjoy your evening. Go out and have a nice dinner. Go shopping. If you have a drink, limit it to one. Moderation. If you're driving a community college vehicle, do not drink. Okay. But anyway, glad to see all y'all. Looking forward to seeing y'all tomorrow.
Okay.